The Durian Heat, bringing big ideas and critical opinions in Southeast Asia.
Hey, good morning. This is Arlene and you're listening to our Durian Heat, where we interview one person every day between Tuesday to Thursday on issues that impact Southeast Asia and Malaysia. And this time we'll be speaking to Zikry Kholil. He is the co-founder of Incitement. He will be sharing to us on a topic that people seldom talk about, which is about the orang Asli. And this time he's going to share with us on a project that he did this year. So first of all, hi Zikry Kholil.
Hello, good morning. How are you? Good morning, Malaysia.
I'm great. And first of all, I think it would be great if you can share with us what exactly is Incitement and the solar project that you did earlier this year.
Well, so what Incitement is basically a global movement form turned organization, and what we do is we incite positivity in all kind of forms through powerful talks, and we transform people's inspiration into taking actionable steps towards making the community a better place, or even helping you to grow personally.
So
one of the many.
Just to stop you there. So previously, most of your project are not really on the outskirts of Kuala Lumpur. It's mostly within Kuala Lumpur, and you focus more on trying to incite people from the urban areas.
Yes, that's correct. And not to forget that we're also in 40 countries, and all of them have their own local projects that they work with. But the Leader of Light is pretty much a global partnership between Incitement and Leader of Light himself. And they've been around for quite a while, like around 6 years. And what they do is they build solar-powered lights with cost-effective, and bring them to places, to energy poverty communities, started in Philippines, and now they're also in 29 countries. And we thought of bringing it to Malaysia because from the research that we've made, there's about 150,000 Malaysians who are mostly comprising the orang Asli population, don't really have direct access to any kind of light. So this is the reason why we thought of bringing it to Malaysia, which was June this year.
Oh, June this year.
That's correct. And we've actually planted these lights in 4 villages already.
Oh, wow.
And yes, that's right. And when we work very closely with a lot of university students who are very inspired about how these lights have made an impact. And now the Leader of Light chapter in Malaysia is run by a lot of these engineering students from APU, from Intech, and from Lim Kok Wing and UTP, of course with our supervision, and we help what we can. And,
so it's actually being driven by university students. That's amazing. They are doing this on a volunteer basis, or it's actually part of their school project?
A lot of them do it for the sake of their their curriculum. They need to pass a specific amount of hours so they can graduate with them. But the ones that sticking with the team, meaning the ones who always show up for the build, who always volunteer to facilitate, they are pretty much part of this Leader of Light Malaysian team, which is going to be officially announced next year. And they are there for the sake of wanting to do more and learning what they've learned and pass it on. And of course they do get allowances by just volunteering in the builds, because they're doing more than just volunteering. They're pretty much helping the whole Leader of Light operations. But at the same time, what we do is we attract a lot of engineering students from universities.
I see.
And this is a good perspective for them, because they can see what they can do more than just waiting in line to get a job with high rolling jobs like in Petronas or with Masing or whatever. You know how these engineering students are. So it's to redefine or to rediscover what it is to be an engineer again, and that is to be innovative and finding solutions on things like this.
Amazing. And the solar light project, tell us more about it, because you are actually using water bottles to light up areas in the Orang Asli community. I'm quite, I guess, ignorant about this. Maybe you can share with me the technicality and the engineering part of it.
No, surely. So how it started is, when Ilak Diaz, the founder of Liter of Light, started this whole thing, he did it with only a water bottle where he put, what happens is he fills the water with chlorine, with water, and then adds a bit of chlorine and a few other chemicals. And what happens is he would stick it into the houses of the underprivileged, and the bottle itself collects the sunlight, and what happens in a few hours is that there's a reaction from that, and it helps illuminate light into the house.
Wow.
So so that's the initial, the starting stage of this Liter of Light chapter. But now they've upgraded to version 3, which is basically using solar panels, and this is even much more revolutionary because it's much more safer. It's stronger. It lasts much longer. The moment you build one and you install one in the indigenous village, it could last for 5 years.
Wow.
And what we do and how it works is you have the solar panel on top. It consists of PVC pipes, but the main components will be the circuit that we design, and the circuit is pretty much working on the logic of 0 to 1. So what that means is whenever there's a high intensity of light, the circuit triggers a logic where the solar panel is charging the battery, and the battery will get all the energy that it needs from the solar panel, from the solar. So during daytime, it's charging, and the moment the intensity of the light goes to 0, which is extremely zero lights and in extreme darkness, it triggers the functionality to turn on the light. So it's automatic. Yeah.
And how long it will last for each of the panel?
The panel itself, as long as it's not damaged, because it's with the most latest technology. Where if you bought solar panels 7 years ago, it will be corroded with algae, and because if it's corroded with algae, it would definitely not last long. But the new ones are much more powerful. They could be around even 20 to 35 years.
Oh, that's amazing.
But this is just a theory. But so far, the ones that so far there hasn't been any case of, if the solar panel does not work or not. But what is remarkable is the fact that these lights, if maintained well, potentially it will reach 5 years. And what we do there is we don't just install them and leave. We actually show these indigenous people, the Orang Asli village people, on how it is built, how can they maintain it, what should they look after, what can they learn how to assemble some of the parts, and installing and reinstalling. Let's say if the LED light that provides the bulb stops working, you can, because it's been a year and a half, and you have to change it a year and a half, depending on how long it lasts. So you just have to go buy a new one, and at least they know how to put a new one on.
That's true.
It's the same with the batteries.
But what about the amount of light that it can shine during the night time? Is it like the full, from 7 to the next morning at around 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock?
On the first day, it does not light that long, because you're just collecting the only very little amount of heat, because when we install it, when we reach at the Orang Asli villages, it will be around 2:30 p.m. already, or 3 p.m. already, from a long four-wheel drive from wherever we're coming from. And whenever we install one, it depends on how long it's been exposed to the light. So it could last maybe for a few hours the moment the light is turned on. But on the following day, once it gets a full cycle of the whole day time for it to get charged, then it has the potential to between 10 to 25 hours of charging. And of course, it'll turn off the moment the light is on. So it does accumulate some extra hours of light also. So even if it rains or if it's cloudy, if it's a cloudy day, it still has that reserve amount of hours to shine at night.
Oh, that's great.
Yes, that's right. That's correct.
Oh, and another thing about the solar panel, are they costly or expensive? You know, when you think about solar panels, usually you'll be like, oh yeah, who can afford to buy it? I mean, you guys are doing a great work there, but for ordinary people or for those who really want it, other communities, can they afford to get a solar panel?
You know, the most interesting here is the fact that this technology that we're doing, what Ilak Diaz is actually doing with the retail light, is actually an open source technology. Anybody can do it. As long as you buy the parts, as long as you know how to assemble it, you can have it on your own in your backyard.
Oh, really?
Yes. It's only that the problem here is, it is a problem that nobody's actually wanting to take lead. And, depending on what your attitude is towards, what you apply in your user, nobody's going to ever, take charge of wanting to build themselves. They rather buy, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what we've done is we actually made it much more efficient and much more fun for someone to build a solar light like what we've built. And again, it's open source. Anybody can make it, and the cost itself, it gets cheaper and cheaper every year. The only thing that will always will still cost a lot of money is the PVC pipes for the time being.
Oh, really? It's the PVC pipes. I would assume the other way around.
Yeah, because in the case of Malaysia, we have our GST, right? And
yeah.
There's of inflation, yada yada yada. The cost of the light also varies because if you go to a much remote village and the 4-wheel drive might take 8 to 12 hours, of course, that also comes into factor. And if when we do go to Borneo next year, that also comes into into question. It might the amount there might be a markup price of this little light that might hit 25% more.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, especially now, transportation costs have risen up quite a lot.
Oh, definitely. And definitely, I could not agree more. And of course, we may, at the time being, it may seem like it's affecting, the passengers, like the usual commuters, but at the same time, we forgot to think about, when we are shipping stuff. Those things are also going to increase too. So what else can we do but to kind of pray that maybe there might be some little sympathy for for us people here.
That's true. Anyway, we'll take one short break. When we return, we'll discuss further on the Orang Asli communities.
No worries.
The Durian Heat, bringing big ideas and critical opinions in Southeast Asia.
Hey, welcome back. This is Arlene, and you're listening to Durian ASEAN. And with me is Zikry, Kholil, co-founder of Incitement. And earlier on, he shared about the solar light project, where he have lightened a couple of Orang Asli community villages. And right now, he's with us to share more about the plights and living conditions of the Orang Asli. Hi, Zikry.
Hello.
Hello. So, you venture deep into the forest to meet up with the Orang Asli communities. Can you share with us the experiences and what you actually learned from it?
For me, it's definitely a first time for everything. I never expected, number one, I never knew that. I thought Malaysia is fully, all Malaysians have fully access to all the needs that you need as any citizen would have. But being there, it was just a different perspective. But not just perspective, it was a different world for me.
Mm-hmm. Why is that so?
Well, they're not close to any kind of roads, or you need to be going deep into the rural jungle, and it's quite difficult to even reach to them, and it's about some of these places takes 3 to 4 hours by 4-wheel drive, and you need to go there with a 4-wheel drive. But I think what really hit me the most was the fact that there's a village with 120 people, and how humble they are, and at the same time they were sharing, the new issues that they face, from dirty water coming from from a near plant, or maybe there's not enough how do you say support from the local communities nearby, and they feel a bit not to say left out, but they feel like they're not really moving forward as promised by say a lot of people who always coming in, going out, and they don't like it when you just come into their village and expect this is the best for them and then just leave, because nobody has asked them what do they really need.
Actually, I mean, orang asli aside, I think any of us, I mean, in general, wouldn't like to be told, okay, you are doing it wrongly, and we know best, and you just listen. And I think that kind of mindset is very colonial in a sense, is master and slave sort of mindset. But I think what the orang asli had air out in terms of their grievances makes sense, because in general, none of us would like to be in that situation.
Of course. Even you and I would never be want to do that, But that's the problem. I mean, a lot of charity works or NGOs would just assume they need food or assume they need clothes, so they would just enter, take a few photos, and then they would just say, "Oh, we did it, yay!" and then try and get them to cook food for them sometimes, and then they would just leave with a very good feeling, but not for the Orang Asli people, but for them. And that is an issue. So what we did was we made sure that we don't go in just simply build lights. So we have a ranger that we talk to, and he's a really amazing ranger. He's also one of the team leads when it comes to search and rescue in Malaysia. So he's been very helpful, and he's pretty much our middleman, or our connector and the bridge between us and the indigenous people. So he knows what they need, and they obviously need lights. They have water running, and this is all good, but light is something that's actually keeping them in the dark. When I mean in the dark, it's not just the fact that it's they can't do much at night, but also it stops the progression on how can they, for the children especially, how can they learn at night, because right now they're using carousel lights, which is
that's very not environmental friendly.
Yes, exactly.
And costly.
Yes, exactly. And they would go to the city, the nearest town, to buy it. But the most alarming one is most of them would end up making bonfire in the house.
Yeah.
So if you have a bonfire in the house, I don't think that's a really good idea. You may think that you may be careful and stuff, but there's been a lot of houses being reported every year of houses catching on fire from bonfires burning in the house. So
understandable.
There's a lot of, yes, and I think the moment we brought these lights, again, our whole angle is not to just give and provide to the needy, but also to empower them and help us to co-create a sharing economy where they get to build their own community and grow it together and grow it with it. So this is why it's so important for us to educate them and how they can actually understand the anatomy of this light that we built, the solar light that we built, and at the same time, it provides an opportunity for them to know which parts is what, and if they ever have an issue with a specific part in the long run, if it ever happens, they know what to go and to the city, to the nearest town, to go and buy it for. So
you're actually getting them excited about science, which is great.
Oh yeah, definitely. I think one of the most beautiful stories I've heard so far from these villages that we installed these lights in was that one of the Orang indigenous villager is an electrician in the nearest town in Cameron Island called Ringlet. So he got a bit creative when he saw what we were doing, and he likes what we're doing, and he's learning more about solar light. So he actually designed a solar powered charger for people who have smartphones.
Oh wow! Now you have a genius inside your Asli village. How cool is that?
Yeah. So what he needs now is just a bit of support, and of course, some of the things that they asked was like, oh, thank you so much for the street light. Can you make a flashlight? Can you help us put lights in the house? And this is when things can get very interesting because you don't want to keep giving them, then they will rely on you, right?
Yeah.
So what you do is you tell them that if you can prove it to us that you can take care of this light for a year, then we have more incentives and more reason to perhaps level you up. But of course, it's much better if they could come across their own discovery, like this electrician I shared you about, because solar power is an endless source of energy, especially living in tropical areas. It's such a beautiful place to have this kind of technology.
That's
but
true.
I think what really touched us the most was seeing children being able to play under the lights, or even better, we saw these two kids who pulled out their chairs and put the chair under the solar lights, and one brought a comic book with them, the other one brought a
Oh my God! Really?
they brought the other one brought a homework or book, something like that, and they started reading and just going through the whatever they've learned in school, I guess. So that was very touching, because I think there is a lot of hunger in the villages who, but they're not that far from the nearest town, because and it's very disappointing to see how they have to they can only enjoy the daytime, and at night they're restricted to so many things, because if you don't have lights in the villages, they're scared to go out, even going to the toilet.
Yeah.
They're living in wildlife area, so there might be tigers or elephants or snakes even. So and of course these things are pretty much are reasons why they sleep very early. So I think all of them go to bed at 9, I believe, and they will wake up around 4:30, and that's their time to start their day. So they're very much morning people. So this is what I could gather from all the 4 trips I've been.
The Orang Asli community that you venture in, can you just describe about which tribe they are in, and what are their what are the interesting cultures that they have?
In terms of how they treated us, or
in terms of their community itself, I mean, because you haven't mentioned like which Orang Asli community that you went in.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
So for the time being, it's only the Orang Asli who live around Cameron Highlands, and in Cameron Highlands alone, you have about, if I'm not mistaken, according to the ranger, there's about 40 villages in this area that don't have any kind of lights or whatsoever, and we powered up 4 of them, so there's 36 more to go, and each village has about an average of 120 residents.
Oh, wow!
And and you have about 30 to 35 houses. A lot of them most of them have community centers, and they have also a school for Orang Aslis who are illiterate. So you have that as well. And the other part of these villages is that a lot of them are farmers.
I see. What do they farm?
They harvest not paddy fields. I forgot some fruits. But most of them actually have like unlimited access to bamboo trees. So they actually collect as many bamboo trees and sell it to the people in the town, and they sell it very cheaply. And of course, if you buy bamboo trees from these bamboo outlets in the town, of course they'll charge you like maybe 100 times over.
Yeah,
this is how they are. Yeah, exactly. So this is how they make a bit of a living. But everything is quite organic for them. They grow their own food. They have their own harvest with chicken, running around, and surprisingly there was a lot of dogs too, and they were very nice, friendly dogs who apparently are their guards at night. So that's why they have them.
So they are just friendly to you guys.
They're very friendly, and they're very friendly, and of course Not all of them are Muslims like many people would expect them to be. I'm not sure why, but again, that's not the whole point, right? The whole point is is everybody here is Malaysian, and I think one of the things that really I find it very interesting is that whenever we say Malaysia, we always talk about it compromises. It's a race that compromises of Malays, Chinese, and Indians.
Yeah, the narrative is very narrow. I mean,
yes, and I think it's not fair for me, at least. This is just my own 2 cents that we are not including them. And of course, there are many kinds of indigenous people out there, and because of this could somehow neglect the diversity that we actually have in Malaysia, I believe, and not many youth people know about these people, especially the arts we go to. When we go in with the Malaysian students, especially when they go in, they are in shock. They never knew such villages existed. At one point, one of the villages helped us build a bridge to cross a river because we had to cross this river, a very high current, a very dangerous river, let's just say, and it's about 10 meters apart from each side, and they actually built it for us.
Oh, wow.
And of course you have to go one by one. It wasn't so stable, so you have to just be a bit careful. And the fact that these students get to see all these things, in real life, actually empowers them too.
Yeah.
And that is what we want. We want to have more youth to understand how people are facing such hardship in this kind of level.
That's true. And I think what's great here is not just the Orang Asli community learning from you guys and getting new technologies from you guys. It's also about us. I mean, especially the young people that you brought there, learning something new about Malaysia, about all Malaysian communities.
That's correct. I mean, there's so many things that our Malaysians don't know, and it's abysmal for some reason. Regardless of if you can find anything on the internet, it's much more impactful if you could go on the ground and get immersed. I mean, they a lot of them try to talk to these local villagers. When you see kids and the Orang Asli kids, they're just very shy. They just smile at you, and if you come approach them, they start running around. It's very sweet to see that. But of course, for us, to build the future, we have to make sure that everybody is part of the future, and to do that is kind of showcase this to our next generation of future leaders or our next people in line to grow this country or grow this region, if we're going regional, or pretty much to elevate humanity forward. And this is one of the only ways how I believe, and the whole team believes, that we could actually contribute. It's small steps for now, but definitely it's investing in a bigger step in the coming years or so.
Yeah, that's true. And one thing I want to add on, especially when you spoke earlier about the two kids that you saw quickly brought in their comic books and schoolworks to study under the light or to read under the light, and it kind of sort of made me thinking that we are actually very privileged, growing up in an urban setting. We don't really know how privileged we are until we go to a community where having light at night is something that is a luxury to them.
Yes, that's very true. I think they get a bit, when the moment you see the lights turn on, you can see the whole entire village celebrating like they won the World Cup. That's for sure.
Wow.
Everybody running around and like jumping. Well, not really jumping. That's a bit exaggerating. But they were just very happy, and they would invite us for a dinner with them. They make home cooked food or something like that. Of course, it's just a very nice gesture and appreciation from the indigenous people. But from the point that you're trying to make, of course, we take these things for granted. We complain about the small things, if our phone is dead or no lights in the house, or no aircon or things like that. But this also narrows down how you as a person could be more mindful of what you have. Because there's so many things here that is considered luxurious to us, even though we like to compare us with people who are much more richer, or people who can buy anything they want in their life. But what they have is something that we don't have, and that is appreciating the beauty of Mother Nature, of how they actually don't need this light at one point, just because it's just a way of life. If this was 5,000 years ago, I don't think there were lights back then, or
Yeah.
probably the bonfire, or it might be limited. But again, nowadays, living in modern society, if they want their kids to go to school, if they want to make sure that they have a very protected environment, lights come into play now, and it's one of those necessities that you would need at the moment. Even if this whole world was going through an apocalypse of zombies, you're definitely going to need lights as a way of protecting yourself, right? So this is the same way what these new generation of indigenous people are thinking, because if they want to go into town, they see a lot of things, and they would want to experience some of them, not all of them, some of them, and one of them is having lights at night in their villages.
Yeah, that's true. Anyway, we'll take a second short break. When we return, we'll discuss further on this topic.
The Durian Heat, bringing big ideas and critical opinions in Southeast Asia.
Hi, this is Arlene. You're back with me again on Durian ASEAN, with Zikry Kholil, co-founder of Incitement, sharing with us earlier on the plights of orang Asli, and of course the solar light project. So moving forward, I want to know, what are the things that you want to do in the future, just to spread light, or just to create more awareness about the conditions of people or communities living in remote areas?
That's a very good question, Arlene, and I think lights is just one of the the many little things that we can do for the indigenous people. I think to move forward is to pretty much be aware that these people actually are Malaysians. They're not like with a special pass, or I think there's a lot of Malaysians who will kind of misinterpret their status quo, and they are the citizens of this country. And I think what we need to do is we have to find the right means and the right strategy to make them more feel like they are Malaysians too, because at the moment they just feel like they're just native people. And I think whether, depending on how you perceive nationalism, which could be bad, or it has its pros and cons, but it's always better to feel more united and have them feel being more Malaysian. And one of those little things is we can learn a lot from them, and they can definitely learn a lot from us. They have a long way to go. Mm-hmm. And of course, I can't speak on behalf of their community, because I myself am not a indigenous native, or I am no orang Asli research expert or whatnot. So if anyone anybody can correct me if I'm wrong, but on my own 2 cents, I think we just need to have them immerse a bit more with our own daily activities. Perhaps the first thing that you could do is provide the necessities that they need, like water, light, energy, electricity, things like that. It's not to say that we're spoiling them. No, I mean, if you do it the right way, by not just giving and then go home, then obviously they would like to understand more. Now at the moment they're learning about solar energy, not the old electrical lines. It's amazing, because you just giving them a piece like that, and just imagine if you put a computer there and then let them explore whatever they can of what they are seeing with the solar light. There's so many amazing things that can happen, and a lot of projects actually blossom the community by just leaving their a technology behind, and they will actually figure it out. There's a lot of cases in India when someone left their laptops in the village, and I forgot what's the name of this movement, but this is an initiative. This one guy went to a village, left his laptop there by accident, came back 3 months later to pick it up, and noticed that everybody started to learn.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there's this kind of magic that happens, and people will always be curious with things that they've never seen before. So curiosity is always part of the whole gain that the indigenous people will definitely have as an added advantage. But of course, in Peninsula Malaysia, there aren't many chronic Malay Orang Asli villages that don't have access to lights. I may have said 40 just in Cameron Highland, but this is just a very small number. If you go to Borneo, that's where the most rampant villages are, where you might need a day or two with four-wheel drive to get to these villages, and that's the challenge, and that's just giving them lights. And of course, we don't even know if they need lights. So this is one of the few factors that we're considering, and definitely Borneo Sabah and Sarawak is one of those states with the most highly populated indigenous people in Malaysia who still don't have the necessities, and one of them is energy. What can we do? Well, I think the best way is to start with the young ones, exactly what we've done with university students, because again, they are our future. I think the Gen Y, the baby boomers, the millennials have a much more conscious towards awareness like these things, and this is going to help them a whole lot. And of course, being attached to so many good things that we've seen on Viral Nova or Upworthy, this is something what is harnessing and shaping the future of the youth. There are a lot of youth out there, and actually there's a research done that the coming millennials and baby boomers are more inclined to do a social project or a social cause or a social.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. That's true.
Yeah, they're more caring. They give a damn, and that's the thing. We need to create to be the pioneers to create more proactives with the right attitude, and to have that right attitude is not easy to train.
That's true.
And that's why we need to start with the young ones. So.
And talking about starting with the young one, tell us more about the Borneo project next year, and how can we actually participate in it if you are actually opening for the rest of people out there to be part of the volunteers?
No worries. I mean, we're always open to volunteers. I think at the moment we're talking to Curtin University, who could provide us their students. But if there's any outsiders who wants to participate, they can always register online, because we do have a portal for people to register as a volunteer through Incitement. And Leader of Light is one of the many projects that we work with. We have tons of other social impact projects that we actually help funnel to our audience who would like to participate, either as a normal volunteer or even a long-term role that they can actively participate. You can log on to theincitement.com/volunteer, and there's a form that you can apply, that you can register, and we'll notify you what will happen next. I mean, for next year, we're looking into second quarter to go into Borneo, because it requires a lot of planning. Still looking for local vendors who can provide us the parts that we need, because it does not make sense if we built them here in Malaysia, in Kuala Lumpur, and ship it there, because the cost might be very, very heavy.
With that, I think I just want to wish you all the best, and hopefully with projects like you guys, more and more young people can get involved with to engage and understand communities out there.
Thank you very much, Arlene. And I also have to say that what Durian Heat is doing is a really amazing thing to cover topics like this, and I wish you all the best, and I hope you are making the impact that you are doing your best at.
Okay, thank you.